With Liquor Barn, you can shop your favorite bourbon, that perfect bottle of wine, or discover something new. To place an order for pickup or delivery, download the Liquor Barn app, visit liquorbarn.com, or call your nearest Liquor Barn location. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our email list for all the latest news on products, promotions, and events. Liquor Barn, where Kentuckians go to celebrate life. Cheers!
Limestone Farms bourbons are like a secret portal to a world of rich flavors where high proof meets smooth satisfaction. Every barrel is meticulously crafted and blended with a specific message in mind. Experience clean delineated flavor profiles that will have you engaged from the first sip to the final drop, making your palate beg for just one more taste. Limestone Farms, bringing heritage home.
We could tell you that Penelope Bourbon's 4-grain Stave bourbon whiskey is a multiple double gold winner at SIP Awards, or that Wine Enthusiast named it a best buy, or that Tasting Table named it one of the 12 best small batch bourbons under $40. But really, all you need to know about Penelope 4-grain is that it aims to please. Whether you enjoy it neat or mixed in your favorite cocktail, Penelope 4-grain is a staple in every well-stocked bar. Pick up your bottle at penelopebourbon.com. Are you ready to turn your passion for spirits into a thriving business? Welcome to Regard Law Group, your trusted partner in Central Kentucky. Whether you're looking to set up a distillery, create a liquor brand, or open a bar or restaurant, we've got your back. From licensing to permits, we navigate the legal landscape so you can focus on what you do best. Plus, we handle corporate matters, business litigation, and even help you raise funds from investors. Don't go it alone. Call Regard Law Group today and let's make your vision a reality. Visit regardlawgroup.com for more information.
Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight live in the Bourbon Life Studios, it is my good friend and co-host, Matt. Matt, how you doing out there, man?
Mark, I'm good out here. You doing all right in there?
I'm good. I'm sorry. You know what? Eventually, I'm going to let that co-host thing just die. But since you made such a fuss over it a couple weeks ago, I may have to continue to just complain about that. No, I'm just kidding. You're always my co-host. It's just because I don't say it every week. You know what I mean? So couldn't do the show without Matty Boy.
Matty Boy.
You doing all right, man?
Yeah.
You hanging in there?
Yeah, absolutely
All right.
we are. And yourself?
You look tired tonight, Matt.
Yeah, some nights are a little more tired than others, but always a good time once we get on here with a guest, get a couple pours going. We always have a good time.
Yeah, man, for sure. We're going to have a fun time tonight, for sure. We got some great pours. Our guest sent to us. Very appreciative of that. And we'll talk about all that here in just a few seconds. But we are the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support. We appreciate the support of all of our sponsors. Could bring you this show every week without all of them. With that said, Matt, would you like to tell everybody who we have with us tonight?
Absolutely. Joining us out in Colorado Springs, Colorado, is the founder of the Colorado Springs Distillery Week and Festival, Matt Hondorf. Matt, welcome on to the Bourbon Life Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man, we're thrilled to have you on here. You know, I'm surprised you agreed to do this, even though knowing that you're a friend of Stacy's. I mean, right. I don't know. I would have thought that would have been enough for you to be like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to go on your show, man.
I mean, you know, I've listened to your, what do you guys call it when it's just the Bourbon Life crew episodes? Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, Stacy's Stacy. So I was going to text her today and be like, are you recording tonight? Because if that was the case, it would have been the roast.
Matt's gonna be like, nope, I'm out of here. Yeah. So it's funny. Matt did a Ironman a couple weeks ago, and I was hanging out with his parents during the race, and they listened to the show, which is great. So hi, Mr. and Mrs. Hughes out there listening to our podcast. But his dad was so funny because he was like, your shows are a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. Boy, that's Stacy. I think we're gonna have to wash her mouth out.
Oh man,
like, yes,
you'd have
yes,
to use
sir.
Straight like gasoline for that.
Yeah, to get all that out of there, right? Yeah, she's one of the guys. I mean, I love Stacy. She is such a sweetheart. We have a good time together, man. But when she starts rolling, man,
she brings it to a whole nother level.
She definitely can. There's no doubt about it. So maybe if she doesn't come out for your festival in a couple of weeks, maybe that's a good thing, right? It's a blessing in disguise. But
right.
We're gonna have a good time tonight, man. I'm looking forward to this. Cool. But before we jump into the topic, man, let's talk about what we're drinking on this first round. Matt, you sent it to us, man. You want to tell us what we got?
Yeah. So this first one is Axe in the Oak, Colorado Mountain Bourbon. So it's funny because this is actually the first Colorado whiskey that I ever bought.
Was it really?
Yeah. And This is like probably 2014-ish, 2013 or so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So these guys are down here in Colorado Springs. Obviously, that's why we're featuring them.
From Denver at the Colorado Springs Festival.
Well, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, so it's a 92 proof.
Yeah.
Their spot is actually pretty cool. It's a whiskey lounge. They don't really do too much at the actual distillery. But it's probably one of the coolest just spots in town. It's an old elementary school.
Oh, okay.
And then there's Bristol Brewing, which I don't know if you've ever heard of them. It's one of Colorado's bigger breweries. And then like a restaurant and some other another bar. It's a pretty cool spot. So
yeah. And it's 93 proof, and I think I saw on the label, Matt's got the bottle. The other Matt, my Matt has the bottle out there. I think on that label somewhere, Matt, it says aged 3 years.
Yep. Yeah, 92 proof, by the way, there, Mark. 46%.
Oh, did I say 90? My bad. I had 3 on my mind from the years. So yes, 92 proof. Thank you.
So we got batch 182 over here. And of note, this is aged 3 years in American white oak, distilled from corn, malted rye, and malted barley. So not just regular rye. This is a malted rye product. So that's always something a little unique. Right? Yeah, I'd love to see some malted rye showing up in the mash bill.
Yeah, and I think the mash bill, everything I saw said undisclosed mash bill. So, but it did say, I saw some things that said it was at least 21% rye. So I think it tends to that higher rye mash bill. And this, Matt, speaking of the whiskey, what do you pick up on the nose on this one, man?
It's got a good bit of grain coming through on the nose, and not, I don't pick up as much of the corn, but that malted rye and the barley really shine through. The barley's got that like really sweet kind of like cornflake cereal note. I know I said that didn't smell the corn as much, but the barley kind of has like cereal notes to it. Something about it has like a freshness in it, almost like a pine or like a cedar, some sort of like outdoors kind of woods type aroma.
Smells like Colorado.
It really does. In the best way, having lived in Colorado for 5 years, it really does smell kind of like that crisp mountain air. I really quite like the nose. There's quite a lot to go back to. I'm sure as it just sits in the glass, it's going to open up even more. Yeah,
it's funny, Matt, because you said pine, and I was like, kind of reminds me when you're driving like in the middle of the night through South Carolina or something. You get your windows rolled down, and you can kind of get the smell of those Carolina pines in the tree. So, or in the car. I mean, it does kind of have that little bit of aroma. I think, like you said, there's grain to it. I get some mintiness off of that rye as well that comes in. Almost like a spearmint to me on that. I see what you're saying. You said cornflakes. Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see it's not super corn forward, but it does have a sweetness to it as well. That's cereal like. So, and that could be that barley that's coming through there for sure. So, yeah, man. So, other Matt, Matt, our guest, what do you think, man, in terms of the nose? Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, kind of like other Matt said. Just very like mountain air, like the trees. That's kind of what sticks out to me for sure.
Gotcha.
I'm terrible at tasting notes, by the way. So that's
all right. Hey, so am I. I'm a master of bourbon. I'm terrible. That's why Matt is the expert. So
I've always been I either like it or I don't kind of guy. So
Hey, binary code works for a reason. Either the one or the 0.
1-0, man. That's right. You like it 1. If you don't like it, just give a 0, right? Funny. Well, Matt, let's talk about you, man. I always like to get our listeners familiar with who our guests are. We've not met in person, but we've been talking back and forth, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about the involvement with the festival here in a little bit. But let's talk about you. Can you kind of share about who you are, where you're from, and your background experience, and how you kind of got into the world of whiskey itself?
Cool. So I actually grew up in New York. When I was 17, I signed my contract to join the Army. And it was kind of
wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was pretty much set on doing. I hated school, never wanted to go.
Amen to that.
And kind of in a way told my mom basically, if you can sign because you need a parent signature when you're 17. You can either sign it and I'll get like a big signing bonus, or you can not sign it and I'm still going to leave on the same date. So luckily she signed it. So served for 5 years, and then I got out in 2015, and then I've actually been a police officer since. That's my normal 9 to 5. So whenever you talk to me during the day, that's probably where I'm at.
That's why you're like, dude, I can't talk right now, man. I'm at work, and because I had no idea, I did not realize that, man. And thank you for your service. Number one,
absolutely.
Number two, I had no idea, because I know I texted you a couple times and messaged you, and you're like, dude, I'm working. I'll get back to you. I'm like, okay. I'm like, man,
just give me a few. It's funny too, because I'm actually right now I'm a school resource officer. So I'm assigned to an elementary school. So usually when I'm texting you something like that, we have a kiddo that's trying to run outside or do something.
A little misbehavior, right? A little you when you're a kid, probably, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, so excuse me. Hopefully that didn't pick up. But yeah, that's kind of my normal non-whiskey side of things.
So what was it, Matt? I mean, how did you get into, have you always been a whiskey drinker, or was that something that kind of came along as you got older?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny because I never drank whiskey when I was in the Army. Like I was one of those
Really? Okay. You didn't have that, was it military special, man? You weren't down in that deliciousness?
Nope, not at all.
Have you ever had it? Have you ever had military special?
No. That sounds...
There's a bourbon.
It sounds horrible.
Yeah, it is. No offense. Whoever makes it, no offense if anybody's listening that works for whoever makes that, but man, military special, you can only get it on military bases. One of the local bars, bourbon bars here, they have it in a big plastic handle, and it is,
No.
Anyway,
never haven't experienced that one. Now I'm gonna have to go find one though.
Go find some military special, man.
I got 6 bases here in Colorado Springs to choose from. So
we'll definitely. And they make gin. Apparently they make, because I was telling somebody about it. I feel like I'm going off topic. Sorry about that, but they make like gin and vodka and everything as well. So, and I think it's just for military bases. But yeah, it's a whole line of spirits it's called military special.
Yeah, no, definitely didn't indulge.
But you weren't drinking
one.
Anyway, right? Yeah, you weren't drinking, so you didn't care, right?
Yeah. No, I like I said, I think I'd been to the Axe and the Oak, their whiskey lounge, which I think opened in 2012 or 13. I'd been to that once or twice, my whole probably 3 years that I was active duty here. But just never really got I would say into it. And then I was kind of one of those I'll chug a bottle of Jack Daniels and get really angry. So that was me. Yeah, that was me probably 10 years ago. And then
I know that story.
Which story? For me?
No, I'm nothing about you, but I'm talking about me personally.
yeah.
I
Okay.
relate to that. Yeah, I get it.
I was
man.
going to say, uh-oh. I was
You're like,
I don't
shit,
think
what story's
I
he
don't
gonna
think I told you anything. Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Yeah. So I would say probably like 18 or 19. My father-in-law, he's a big whiskey guy, and then we would always do whiskey and cigars, and then kind of like 2019 started really getting into it. I built my home bar here, which now I think I have like probably like 400 bottles or something on that thing. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Nice.
But they're all open, and I've tried probably 95% of them, so it's not a museum.
Very nice. That's good to hear.
Yeah. And then 2020, literally like 2 weeks before COVID, is kind of when I started my Colorado Spirits Collective. So
Yeah. So kind of getting into the whiskey just as a personal fan, drinker, enjoying it. Obviously, getting a huge collection of whiskey as well. So you started the Colorado Spirits Collective.
Yep.
Can you talk about? Just tell us what is that? What made you decide to do that?
Yeah. So kind of right before, I would say, the end of like 2019 or so, kind of got into the whole podcast thing, like listening, and noticed just there wasn't really anything that focused on Colorado whiskey in general. It was kind of just like all over, and then obviously like everybody likes their tater bottles and stuff, and that's kind of like what I felt like everybody was kind of reviewing. And then had come across like you guys, who like you guys have the wide range of who you interview, everybody from micro distilleries all the way up to obviously your huge guys. And my start goal was to do YouTube and interviews and stuff like that. And I probably did, I think I have like 15 or so that are up on YouTube. And then, but I never realized like how much work, and time, like,
Matt, I know that story too, man.
Yeah.
I live that story every day as well.
Yeah,
I get
like,
it.
It's crazy, and like how to get like followers and build all that, and
Sure.
It just, to me, like I wanted to focus on put my time more towards being able to share Colorado whiskey and all that, and it just didn't seem to be my kind of thing. So obviously during COVID, I had to DM some distilleries and be like, hey, can I borrow this picture for a post, since obviously we couldn't go there and take my own and stuff. But and then, so that's kind of what the idea of it was when I first started. And then 2021, I did my first event, which is kind of like the one I do now. It's basically like a Whiskey Wednesday tasting. And I did that here at a local venue. And first ever event, like, had people standing up against the walls, literally holding their flights. Like, wow. And that was kind of like I think I have something here kind of thing. And it, obviously people are tasting the whiskey, talking to the people who make it, and like that's kind of where it all clicked basically for me.
And this was this was all while showcasing Colorado whiskey.
Yeah. So the whole goal was to kind of be strictly like Colorado showcasing for those events. So I did a few in 2021, and then kind of took a little time off from it, just because I guess became way too busy with it, and then like wasn't like, I was building my following, but it's kind of hard to, obviously you have to find that family / whiskey life balance, if there is one. And some days it feels like there isn't, but you know. So, and then 2022 worked with another distillery here in town. We did SoCo Still Fest for 2022 and 2023, which that was like where it all, like, I was super pumped. We haven't had one down here, a whiskey festival, since like 2017 or 2018. Obviously nobody had one during 2020, but nobody had brought one back. Like the closest one would have probably been like Denver, basically. And I don't want to go to a whiskey festival and then have to drive an hour and a half back down here, depending on where it is, right?
Perfect solution. Start your own.
There you go, man. I'm going to start a whiskey festival so I don't have to drive, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
I like that.
That's funny because Emily from 291, you've probably talked to her at some point. Have you guys interviewed 291 or anybody?
We actually have not had them on before. Yeah.
So
we need to change that.
Emily, she's I don't know like what her official title is, but she does a little bit of everything. So she's kind of like the person that I would bounce ideas off of, and she's like my industry sister that we always joke that we're sister and brother. But when I would like bounce an idea off of her, it was usually I had already planned like at least half of it. So we would we did that festival in 2022, 2023. And then that 2023 year I feel like was a big year. We I think we like almost tripled ticket sales from the year before.
Wow. That's awesome.
And yeah, so like everything, the event space is kind of like where I feel like I really like shine and be able to help out Colorado distilleries, and so it's kind of what I've turned it into for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean that's awesome. I mean, you've obviously got a passion for it.
Yeah.
And you found out. I mean, and finding that balance, I get it. Between family life and of course work as well, regular work,
the stuff that pays the bills and the benefits.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, we all got to do it, right?
Yeah.
So I completely understand. So guys, we're almost in round one. Let's jump back over to this whiskey real quick and talk about the Axe and the Oak Bourbon. Matt, what do you pick up in terms of the palate and finish on this one?
To me, this tastes like very, very distinctly pot distilled. It's got kind of all those pot distilled notes that I would pick up from a pot distilled whiskey. It's like a little bit rougher around the edges, kind of like this funky, and I mean all this in like a good way. These are the reasons we love pot distilled whiskey. It's got kind of like that funky, musty kind of grain note to it. I pick up, once that kind of settles in, a good bit of like cinnamon. It has like a dusted cinnamon or like a cinnamon sugar note on it as well. I think, Mark, you had mentioned on the nose, you thought the rye really came through with like spearmint. I picked that up on this as well. The grain shines through, like that sweet corn, that malted rye, spearmint, kind of cinnamon. Plays well with the rye with like a nice rounded out finish to it. It's nice. I like it.
Yeah, I agree, Matt. That was the thing when I first tasted it. The cinnamon was kind of the first thing that popped out to me. It was like, okay, cinnamon getting off the rye, but then those other notes that you talked about as well. But there's the grain forwardness to it, but also you'd mentioned the cornflakes, man. Actually for me, it's like Frosted Flakes. It's like a sugary hint of corn. So that kind of stuck out to me on the palate, but that cinnamon, and then also, just the sweetness in general that comes through, which is really nice. I like that. But then those rye notes, like you said, a little bit of that spearmint comes through again. So yeah, I mean, it's young. I think, did they distill their own?
I think they still do most of it. I know at one point they kind of had to blend with MGP.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then I know like they have a ton of land out, or they bought a warehouse out in like Arkansas. They have a pretty big presence in Texas.
Okay.
So I don't know like what the status is of like those different spots, but
yeah, because I'm not familiar with them, so I wasn't sure about that if it's their own distillate. But I would agree with Matt. I think it does have that pot distilled. We say funk. It's just a descriptor, and a lot of people hate. Not a lot of people, but people hate when you say, "Oh, it's got a funk." You're like, "What? How do you translate funk it's like, well, I mean, it's just a uniqueness, right? It maintains more of the corn essence. It maintains some of those oils that you might not get in a column distill distillate. So, I mean, if you're a pot still fan, you get it. And this is I think a perfect example of that, man. So yeah, I appreciate you sending it to us
absolutely
to enjoy.
Yeah, thanks for axing the out, because I hit these guys up, so they supported providing the whiskey. So
nice, very nice.
So they're all on board and excited for me to be on here talking about them. So
great, man. Well, I tell you what, guys, we're at the end of round 1, so let's take a quick break. We'll get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with more with Matt Hondorf with the Colorado Springs Distillery Weekend Festival in just a minute.
Hey there, I'm Carrie Van Winkle, founder of Pappy & Company, where we celebrate family heritage and Southern craftsmanship. Check out our curated collection of artisanal goods that embody the spirit of Kentucky. From our signature barrel-aged pepper sauce aged in Pappy Van Winkle bourbon barrels to our luxurious leather goods inspired by generations of tradition, each item reflects our commitment to quality and legacy. Our line of gourmet food items are thoughtfully selected to bring the taste of the South to your table. Indulge in what I can say is the best bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup on the planet. A perfect blend of buttery rich flavors that elevate any dish or cocktail. We're big fans of the Bourbon Life Podcast, and we're honored to share the legacy of our great-grandfather Pappy Van Winkle with all of you. So visit pappyco.com for 15% off your purchase with code BourbonLife15.
Three Chord's line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The Three Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they called Perfectly Tuned Taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them together. Find out more about the whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.threechordbourbon.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back for round 2 of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and coming to you live tonight from the Bourbon Life Studios, otherwise known as my basement. It's me and my good friend and co-host, Matt. Matt, how you doing out there, man?
Hey, Mark, I am great out here. And how are you?
You're not laughing. You're nothing. You're not cracking a smile. You're just like...
Stone cold, baby.
Man, he is rough. This is a rough crowd tonight. I'm telling you.
You got to smash some beer cans together. And
yeah, that's
for
right.
real, man.
If you're going to say that.
I got them in the fridge upstairs, Matt. Between second and third round, I'm going to go up and get them for you, so you can just throw it out there, man. Let it happen. Cannonball. Anyway, how you doing, Matt? You doing all right?
Yeah, I am, Mark. I'm doing great out here.
Good. Well, me too, man. We're having a fun time tonight. Got a great guest. Talking about some fun whiskey. Gonna have a great show as well, man. So we appreciate everybody joining us. Of course, we are the Bourbon. I always want to say we're the Liquor Barn Podcast. Damn it,
but we aren't. No,
we are the Bourbon Life Podcast, presented by Liquor Barn. Thank you, Liquor Barn, for your support, and thank you to all of our sponsors. We couldn't bring you guys this show every week without all of our wonderful sponsors. Be sure to check them out on our Facebook post and Instagram post as well. We appreciate that. They would appreciate that as well. With that said, Matt, will you tell everybody who we have with us tonight?
That's right. Back for the second round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Matt Hondorf is the founder of the Colorado Springs Distillery Weekend Festival, and he is back joining us and you all this morning, this noon, this afternoon, this morning, this evening, this afternoon, whenever it is you're getting your Bourbon Life Podcast. Matt, welcome on back for the second round.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
I think Matt was drinking at work earlier. Our Matt. I don't know. Something was going on.
Yeah.
Did it work on Labor Day?
I did.
Lame.
He did, man. Yeah, isn't that unfortunate? But he works for a local brand here, so he's rolling barrels and probably got the drill out. He's like, nobody's here.
Yeah, we were bottling whiskey today, that's for sure.
Bottling whiskey, man. You got to taste it and sample it. Make sure it's up to standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. All right, Matt. I'll start giving you shit, man. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Hughes. I said a bad word, but all right, guys. But we're hanging out with Matt Hondorf, man. Matt, we appreciate you joining us tonight. We're having a good time. We were going to do this a couple weeks ago. Had to postpone it, but appreciate you being tough and hanging in there with us, man, and sending us the great whiskey to enjoy tonight.
Yep, definitely.
Really appreciate that.
Definitely had to get you some good whiskey and definitely get over COVID, so I didn't.
Man, and it's going around too.
Oh yeah, it's ripping right now.
It's crazy. It is crazy how many people. Well, anyway, man, we want to go down that path, but let's talk about whiskey. Let's talk about what we're going to drink on this second round, man. Another bottle you sent us. What we got poured up for round 2?
Cool. So this is from 1350 Distilling, which is also like downtown Colorado Springs. and this we have is the code for straight bourbon whiskey. So it's essentially their regular flagship, but cask strength.
Okay.
So 115 proof. That's cool. 1350 Distilling is very first responder and military pro law enforcement, military.
Yeah.
So all their different bottles feature different jobs or different branches of the military. So this one specifically, code 4, is for law enforcement. So rightfully so. It's, my favorite.
There you go.
But it's also 115 proof, which is like right where I usually like
so
it.
I was reading about them today. I'm not familiar with them. 1350 though, for 13 stripes on the flag and 50 stars on the flag, right? So 1350, and code 4 is chatter on police channels for all clear and all's good, right? Sort of.
Yeah. You kind of do anytime you're good and dispatch or somebody asks you if you need anything, that's usually your response. Or like in the movies when you see cops drive by each other and they give them the 4.
Gotcha.
That's actually a thing.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I learned something tonight, man. That's awesome.
There you go.
Great. And my Matt, you've got the bottle out there, man. You want to hold that up? Because did you already do it, or did I miss it?
I did. No.
Oh, there you go. You got the officer on there, right?
Yeah.
Code 4. Cool bottle, man. Really like it.
Yeah,
Nice
to me,
design.
it kind of feels like it has maybe the look and appeal of like an old time radio, like an old CV, or so. Like it kind of has like that big, boxy look to. I don't know if that was intended or if I'm just trying to kind of grasping at straws here to make a connection on something. But to me, it has like that old, 1980s, 1970s, like handheld radio type look, feel to it.
That's funny.
No, that's very cool. I didn't think about that, Matt. All right. So, Matt, let's talk about the nose. Matt. Let's talk about the nose on this one, man. What do you pick up?
It's got a really sweet nose. For 115 proof, it certainly does not nose at 115. On this one, I really get those sweet corn notes. This is like corn pudding, sweet cornbread, or like those frosted flake notes. And I noticed on here the mash bill is 99.1, so 99% corn, 1%. I'm assuming malted barley. It just says 99% corn mash, 3 years old.
I think it is malt. I was looking. I think that is malted barley.
Probably malted barley. But I oftentimes will find on a 99.1, I actually get a fair amount of mint on the nose, and this one to me is no different. There is kind of like this bright like mint to it as well that sort of opens up and cuts through some of those more sweet and like one note savory corn aromas. I know Mark, you had said butterscotch off air. There is kind of like a sweetness, like a caramel or a butterscotch, even like a dark like Heath bar type aroma.
Yeah, like a toffee.
Yeah, thank you, toffee on the on the nose as well.
Yeah, and that's funny, Matt, because I was when I first poured it, it was like, butterscotch, like a Werther's original. I mean, that's really what it came across. And now it's been sitting in the glass here for 5 or 10 minutes. That sweetness, it's still there, but it's not butterscotch anymore. It's kind of wafted away. So I see what you're saying. Again, going back, these corn flakes are like frosted flakes. That sweet corn with a 99.1. I do see what you're talking. It does. I don't know if it's mint to me, Matt, which is kind of weird to say. Oh, I'm getting mint on a 99.1. There's no rye involved, right? So you wouldn't think that, but there is like a spiciness that's coming through. I think to me is what it comes through as. I can't quite define what it is, but it does come through. But I agree with that 115 proof. Man, it does. There's this is like 90. It's like 90 proof in the glass to me, right? So I mean, that's what it smells like. It doesn't. I'm like sticking my nose way down in there just to see if I can catch a burn. And I just opened this bottle this afternoon to let it, just open it. And it's kind of crazy. So, Matt, anything else you want to add in terms of the nose on this one that we may have missed?
No, I definitely agree with Matt for sure. For it being 115 proof, it definitely does not Like you would never guess that based off the nose.
Yeah, not at all. I'm thinking this one could be dangerous, right? Because you're.
Oh yeah.
I haven't tasted it yet, so I'm just curious how if it translates that same way on the palate, So we'll find out here shortly. So Matt, we were talking a little bit the first round, and we're talking off air a little bit, but it's funny because when you say Colorado, you don't think, oh, bourbon. I mean, that's not a connection that a lot of people make, right? So can you talk a little bit about the scene out there? I mean, what's going on in Colorado and Colorado Springs? In terms of the whiskey market and what all is going on out there.
Yeah. So I feel like we're kind of starting to make a name for ourselves on the bourbon like scene in general. I feel like we're more recently over the past like probably couple of years with like laws and I guess Stranahan's a single malt, but just the whiskey whiskey scene in general. But it's all like we're drinking like 2 or 3 year whiskey here. Like it's all very new in a sense of like you guys obviously. So like our oldest distillery would be Stranahan's, which would be 2004. Which 20 years, like that's nothing compared to like the big guys, the more east you go, right? Yeah. Guys. So, but I feel like I've always, whenever somebody has asked me this, I always break it down into like 3 generations. Like you have your 2004 to 2010 would be like your Gen 1, which essentially is Stranahan's, Peach Street, and maybe like 2 or 3 other ones at most.
Would that be Leopold Brothers? When were they started in Denver? I know they started with clear spirits and flavored products, gins and vodkas. But how long have they been laying down whiskey mash?
I want to say that's like 2010, 2012 at the earliest, because I'm pretty sure didn't they start in a different state?
See, when I was living in Denver, that would have been like 2016. They were definitely distilling in Denver then, but you might be right. I guess I don't know the full story behind it.
I haven't done too much like research on them, but I feel like I saw something. I think they started in like Michigan or like somewhere up there.
Yeah, that actually does sound familiar.
Kind of moved everything down here in like 2011, 2012 or so. And then, but they do like, they're cool because they do like floor malting. And they do like all their own stuff. But they're like, I mean, they're internationally known, like, for sure. And then,
did they just do? Was it Leopold Brothers? Did they just do that rye with
the 3-chamber
with Dickel?
Yeah.
Did they partner with them on some of that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
That's them. Yeah.
It's funny, Matt, because I'm looking. I've talked about Colorado whiskey. And I'm talking about you're not familiar with it, but I'm looking at my list of guests and people that we'd want to have on the show. There's 5 brands on here, and Leopold Brothers and Stranahan's are 2 of the 5.
Yeah.
That we have on here, that these are shows that we want to do.
Yeah,
so
that's funny.
So there you go.
Yeah, those are my
question.
We're on lists in Kentucky.
Oh man, yeah, that's funny, man. I'm looking at this because I was thinking about guests because you mentioned Stranahan's, because Rob Dietrich, I think, was out there, and he's with Black and Whiskey now. And then wasn't Owen Martin out there as well? And Owen's now the master distiller at Angel's Envy.
Yeah. There's like so the thing with Stranahan's is probably, I feel like at least 50% of the Colorado scene like did some type of internship or like got their start at Stranahan's. I can think of like Eric for 291. He's their 291's head distiller. He started at Stranahan's. You got Patrick from Tolnua, which Tolnua, they distill under Irish law. So if they were in Ireland, it would be considered Irish whiskey, but obviously they're in Denver, so you can't call it Irish whiskey. But they do like those two are some of the more well-known Colorado guys that have got their start at Stranahan's.
Gotcha.
Which rightfully so. It's the first, obviously, legal distillery since Prohibition in Colorado. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so, where did we leave off?
So there was
Kinda
like,
left off
Well, we
at-
were talking.
Gen 1 distilleries.
Yeah, so Gen 1. Yeah, so so you got like Stranahan's, Peachtree, those few others. And then I feel like there's Gen 2, which is like 2010 to 2014. 2011 to 2014, which is like 291, Axe and the Oak, and like Bear Creek. I don't know if you guys have had any of those, but those are some of the bigger Colorado guys. Laws, obviously.
Yeah. We've had Laws.
Yeah, Laws is.
Would that also be like when some expansion was happening? Like when was Breckenridge?
That's a good question.
Because
I
You're
want to
asking
say
too many questions, Matt.
well, this is all stuff that I'm curious about. I know a little bit about our topic for once here, Mark. So I might actually
That's right. Matt lived in Colorado, so
Yeah.
he knows
what
this
part
stuff.
you live in?
Yeah.
lived in the high mountains up in Vail for a few years. Lived on the
Okay.
western slope for a few years, and then finished
Nice.
in Denver.
Okay, yeah. So
So
Vail, 10th Mountain.
Yeah. yeah,
Those
10th
guys
Mountain.
are. I think those guys are 20.
They're older-ish in
Yeah,
terms
2014.
in terms of
Maybe
Colorado.
2014.
Yeah. So it's kind of like this general trend is it's
Yeah.
moving, it's graduating from the Front Range, like
Mhm.
further west and away from larger cities into smaller towns as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I mean, even like Salida, which is
Mm-hmm.
a super small mountain town, like one of those classic, like still have the same buildings from like the Wild West days, on like their main street. Like those guys have 2 distilleries now. Actually, they have Woods High Mountain, which Lee and PT and that crew is an awesome crew out there. And now they have a new distillery called Salida Distilling. So yeah, it's kind of reached everywhere out east.
Yeah.
And Kansas.
And you're showcasing
Kansas,
that.
as
We
like
talked
to
about
call
the
it.
collective. Oh, sorry. We talked about we talked about the collective, and then but you also do an event out there too. The Whiskey Church, right?
Yep, Whiskey Church Tasting Series. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that? Tell our listeners what
Yeah.
that's all about.
So once again, working with Emily, I brought the idea to her. And so the venue is kind of what I got the name from, and then the logo also. So the venue is a church like in the heart of downtown Colorado Springs that is like one of the first churches dating back to like mid 1800s. And it's still like the same original building and everything like that. And then they have a big like it's not the stained glass window, but just a big arch window right in the front, which is the same like shape as my logo. Super cool
Gotcha.
venue, like really good restaurant in there, which actually I think today is their last day open. They're gonna move to like specifically an event space. But we do the first Wednesday of every month. So far we've been doing it my wife always kills me because I say we've been doing it, but I've been doing it for for a year. It'll be a year in October.
Yeah.
And I've sold out every single one.
Wow.
So it's been kind of like selling out quicker and quicker now. Sellout's like 35 people. So it's still a decent size, but it's still like that, like the intimate feel of like people can ask their questions, and it's not like you're in this huge crowd of like 100 people like some other events and stuff like that. But yeah, so we've featured Colorado so far, but we actually have Balcones coming up for in November, and then Keeper's Heart coming out
Oh yeah.
for
O'Shaughnessy,
December.
right?
Yep. So yeah, it's been a really fun event. it's been selling out.
Man, these guys, somebody's gonna have to put you on payroll for a distillery or something, man. You're like single-handedly promoting like all these places, dude. That's awesome, though. I mean, obviously you're passionate about it, which is so cool, right? So
yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Part of the reason that I have so much whiskey. But yeah, I mean, like I don't charge a distillery to come to it. They just provide the tasting whiskey.
Nice.
So, and then we partner with, can I say another liquor store on the podcast?
Yeah, that's fine, man.
Right now we're sponsored by Applejack, which is our biggest like locally owned. They have 3 locations here, North Denver, like Mid-South Denver, and then one here in Colorado Springs. So you can actually scan the QR code like during the tasting if you like something, and then like purchase it online. And then go pick it up the next day. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's just kind of bringing it all around to just getting people to buy and support Colorado brands. So
yeah. Well, speaking of Colorado brands and Colorado whiskey, let's jump back to our whiskey that we're drinking, the 1350 Code 4. Matt, what do you pick up in terms of the palate and the finish on this?
Once again, does not, just like the nose, I don't think it drinks the proof at 115. I find it to be incredibly, I don't want to say light, but not of the proof. And certainly don't want to say smooth either. But it just drinks well. To me, the palate is kind of like a caramel or like bit of honey candies with like a frosted flake or like a toffee type aroma or taste in it as well. There's kind of like some burnt sugar or a little caramel in there. Again, with these 99 ones, I always get a little bit of mint. And to me, this has kind of like a peppermint Altoid kind of finish to it. There's like a cooling mentholic effect in the mouth that leads on the finish. And that's where I start to see maybe a little bit of the proof just comes through with some of that cooling heat that one might get from like an Altoid or something like that. But this is good. I really like this. This is good sipping whiskey.
And Matt, that's funny because number one, I agree on the proof. Again, doesn't come through, but not what you're talking about, that Altoid, the peppermint Altoid, that hits me initially. That's not like a back palate for me or finish.
Yeah, see,
that
this
is like
I thought the same thing too. It's like right immediately, like tip of the tongue, you get that, and then to that 99.1, that corn really shines through.
It does. It's like instant. It's like ooh, and then it's like ooh, nice and sweet. You know, all these different flavors. That butterscotchy kind of aroma still lingers for me on the palate as well. But then that kind of tingle from that peppermint kind of what you're talking about, the Altoids. Perfect example. I think that's a great analysis, Matt, on that. But yeah, I agree, man. And again, nowhere near what I'd expect for 115 proof. And so as I speculated on the nose, this is one you could probably get in a little bit of trouble. Yeah. We talked about drinking a whole bottle of Jack Daniels earlier, Matt. This could probably fall into that category.
Yeah, for sure. And they do a really good, they do like peach old fashions at the distillery, and they'll take this and like put, soak like peaches in this big like decanter thing. So it's like this, but with like a hint of like natural peach too. So it kind of calms the minty flavor down, which I totally did not get until like you kind of pointed it out. Like, I just got like straight like caramel bomb, like a Werther or something like that, and then like that proof kind of coming up at the end. But yeah, this is one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, it's good. There's no doubt about it. Well, guys, we are at the end of round 2 here, so why don't we just take a quick break? We'll get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with more with Matt Hondorf with the Colorado Springs Distillery Weekend Festival in just a minute. Welcome to Old Dominick Distillery, a family-owned craft distillery nestled in the heart of downtown Memphis. Founded by descendants of Domenico Canali, a pioneering Sicilian immigrant who made Memphis his home in the late 1800s, Old Dominick is steeped in history and tradition. Old Dominick prides itself on offering a diverse selection of whiskeys to satisfy every taste. Whether you're a seasoned connoisseur or a curious newcomer, you'll find something to love, including an 85 proof Tennessee whiskey, bonded Tennessee whiskey, a single barrel Tennessee whiskey, a 90.1 proof bourbon, and coming this fall, a cask strength bourbon. Each bottle of Old Dominick whiskey is crafted with care, Featuring unique mash bills that offer a variety of high and low proofs, this dedication to quality ensures there's a perfect pour for every whiskey enthusiast. Old Dominick whiskeys are proudly distributed in several states, including Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Georgia, Arkansas, Illinois, and Mississippi. Can't find us locally? No problem. You can conveniently purchase our products online and have them delivered straight to your doorstep. Ready to explore the world of Old Dominick? Visit our website at olddominick.com to learn more about our history, discover our products, and find a retailer near you. Visit the historic James E. Pepper Distillery, located in the vibrant Distillery District in downtown Lexington, Kentucky. Initially built in 1880 by Colonel James E. Pepper, one of the founding fathers of the bourbon industry, it operated until 1967 when it was shut down and abandoned for over 50 years. After a decade of historical research, the brand was relaunched and the distillery was rebuilt. Distilling resumed on-site in 2017, using the same historic bourbon recipe as when it closed in 1967. The distillery offers a selection of fine whiskeys for tasting and retail purchases, including the award-winning Decanter Bourbon. Intimate guided tours include time in the museum, an up-close look at the grain-to-glass process, and a complimentary tasting. Stop by for an old-fashioned cocktail and see why TripAdvisor ranks the Pepper Distillery as the third best distillery in Kentucky and the #1 attraction in Lexington. Learn more at jamesepepper.com. All right, everybody, welcome back for the third and final round, otherwise known as the third round of the Bourbon Life Podcast.
And final round.
I'm your host, Mark. What? I'm your host, Mark. And with me here is my former friend and co-host, Matt. Matt, how you doing out there, man?
Yeah, I had a good run. I think.
Man, I'm telling you what, you've had a good run on elder abuse tonight. I'm a senior citizen now. I'm 56. I mean, so I'm going to start chalking this up.
He's an AARP member now.
That's exactly right, man. I am in the AARP.
Being 56 does not excuse some of the things that you've learned tonight for the first time in your life.
Oh, man. We'll talk about one of those here shortly. But man, awesome. Oh, man. Anyway, but we are having a good time tonight hanging out here. And, of course, we are the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support and the support of all of our sponsors. We couldn't bring you this show every week, like I always say, without all their help and support. So we really appreciate them. With that said, Matt, would you like to tell everybody who we have with us here tonight?
Absolutely. Bringing it home on the third round is Matt Hondorf, the founder of the Colorado Springs Distillery Week and Festival. Matt, welcome on back for our final round of the Bourbon Life Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
We're glad you haven't left us. We appreciate that.
No, I'm definitely entertained would be an understatement.
We've not lost a guest yet, man. So
that's right. We're not starting now. So thanks for sticking it out.
That's right. I've been learning so much tonight, man. We got to keep going.
That's right. Mark is at the core of discovery here.
It's awesome. This is never stop learning, kids. All right. Like NBC, man, the more you know. So Matt, what do we got poured up? You sent us another bottle. What do you got poured up for us on this third round?
Yeah. So this will be the 291 barrel proof single barrel Colorado whiskey. So this is like stickers. Michael Myers is the owner of 291, and this is like what he envisioned when he began to distill back in 2011. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just says distilled from rye malt mash. Even talking with them, they won't tell me exactly what.
Undisclosed.
Yeah. But I mean, rye whiskey is what Colorado whiskey is in their vision. And I don't agree, or I don't disagree with, because 291 is definitely one of my favorites, and has kind of set the bar for Colorado whiskey in general.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and
now,
this one has
also
kind of like an extra throwback to Colorado with the Aspen Stave finishing, correct? That's
What's an
pretty
Aspen
Colorado,
Yeah.
right?
No, for sure. So, as Mark learned, Aspen is a tree.
That's right, Mark.
Not just a city in Colorado, man.
Yep.
Aspen is actually a tree.
And this is an Aspen Stave. So they actually take like a classic charcoal grill and like grill these basically. and then get them to about here, and then they finish them in with like probably, I don't know, like 30 to 40 of these.
Okay.
So they'll distill it, and then it'll be White Dog, and then put it in the barrel, and then once it comes out of the barrel, then they'll throw like whatever like blend of barrels together, and then put all these in there, and then kind of finish it for a little bit.
So they don't put the Aspen stave, which is an actual tree. They don't put those staves in the barrels. They'll tank it or put it in their blending vat or whatever.
Yeah,
and then
I'm pretty sure
it's
like in the tank. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And then they'll put those Aspen staves, the charred Aspen staves, in there for a little extra kick. So, all right, cool, man. Good to know.
Yeah.
See, we're learning all sorts of stuff tonight. For those of you kids out there that don't know, an aspen's a tree. Now you do. Matt, what kind of flavor does that aspen wood impart on the nose to you?
Well, first off, I got to just kind of throw to the color. It's got a really, really, really lovely color. Not that anything that we had tonight hasn't had beautiful color to it, but this I feel is like kind of a break and a departure from what we've looked at in the first two rounds in the glass. It's just got this really nice auburn red that really, really shines, I think, when poured in the glass. But the nose on it is it's fruity. To me, it's like has like berry notes to it, like raspberries, cherries, kind of like, think of like berry bubble gum almost, like really, really accentuated by the berries. There's definitely a sweetness from the rye. I think the malted rye takes on a different sweetness than just regular rye, which can be kind of spicy at times, or cinnamon forward, or like peppercorn forward. I think this malted rye is a little bit softer on the nose, but still leads down that rye avenue. Like, I can tell that there's kind of this like rich roasted note to it, kind of like red wine fruits, or like stewed fig, or like stewed plums, maybe, kind of like somewhat Christmassy type notes on some of them, like cranberry possibly, but really, really nice. I like the nose with it. It's I just think it's going to keep developing in the glass.
Yeah, I'm going down that sugary path.
Yeah,
Matt, the
sugar plum,
and like almost like a brown sugary maple syrupish kind of, and with that toastedness of those charred staves, I think it gives it kind of a almost like a burnt flavor, but almost like a burnt sugar, or caramelized. Let's say caramelized
creme
sugar.
brulee.
There you go, creme brulee-ish. Yeah, it sounds much better than saying burnt sugar, right? Smells like burnt sugar to me. Yeah, like a creme brulee-ish. But Matt, I do get what you're talking about, the fruits. I was not picking that out initially, but as you were going through that descriptor, I was like, yeah, I can see that. So it's almost like a fruit topped creme brulee, maybe, to me. Very dessert like. So, Matt, what about you, man? Anything else on the nose?
Yeah, definitely. What Matt said, just about the fruit and whatnot. Like, it's not your typical like rye spicy. It's a lot more like sweet, and like you were saying, some fruit covered creme brulee.
Yeah. And this one, I don't remember if we mentioned it. This is 128.9 proof, right? But again, in the nose, I don't think it noses anywhere near that. Matt, what do you think? Either Matt.
No, I think it definitely steps it up, especially from the two that we've had prior to this.
Yeah.
I can smell that there's a little bit of backbone behind this, but I would not guess 130 proof. I would,
almost 130, yeah.
Yeah, I would guess 118, 122 tops, but it steps it up.
Definitely. So Matt, let's talk about we're here to talk about the Distillery Weekend Festival, man. Yeah. So let's have some discussion about that. Let's talk about what you got going on, because it's a 4-day event, man. You got a lot of things going on. You were talking about, go ahead, man.
So it's kind of funny, because I told myself I was actually going to take 2024 off, like festival wise and whatnot. But then,
oops,
of course, the idea train starts running when I'm bored or trying to fall asleep or something like that. So, yeah, why not do a 4-day event instead of a 1-day festival?
Sure.
So we'll do it in October. October 17th is a Thursday. That's what we're going to kick it off on. So that will be our cocktail competition, and that'll feature 1350 Distilling. So we'll do, it'll be 3 rounds. This first round will actually be kind of cool because we're going to have our competitors pre-batch some cocktails. So it'll be roughly 40 people, but everybody gets to try one of the cocktails from each person. So we'll have six competitors. So you get to try each, and then it'll be kind of like a people's choice thing for who moves on to the second round.
Okay.
So we figure that'll take a little bit to get everybody's votes in and stuff, but we'll have a DJ. The spot in general is a good time. I'm sure they'll be running some distillery tours if they want to. It's not very big. Not a big place. Most Colorado distilleries are very much so on the small end of
Gotcha. Yeah.
of the distillery size. So there'll be a lot going on during that. Obviously you'll get to vote that first round. And then that'll be like a combination of, go ahead.
Are these bartenders, they're bartenders, I'm assuming, that are in this cocktail competition?
Yep. So we have a couple from like local restaurants.
Okay.
And then some that work currently at the distillery. So it's kind of like a combination of like different backgrounds of where people are at for sure.
Okay.
Yep. So then we'll do round 2, and that'll be judged by 4 judges. So Mark, if you want to be a judge,
yes,
I have you on my list.
that'd be awesome.
So hopefully you say yes.
Add me.
Yep. And then, yeah, so that'll just kind of be, they'll make it at the competition right then and there. And then that'll be the same thing for the final round. So, yeah.
Yeah. Did you see Matt laugh when you asked if I wanted to be a judge? Because he's thinking if he makes it through the first round sober, that's going to be a treat right there just to get him. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you're going to be drinking at altitude, man.
I was going to say, I was literally about to say that.
I was going to ask that question,
you're
man.
going to be at 7,000 feet.
Is it 7? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take an oxygen mask.
Just don't buy oxygen in a can. That is like the biggest scam ever.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's a thing.
That, man.
Yeah.
I will not do that.
Yeah.
I got a buddy that's on oxygen. I may have to borrow one of his things. Just walk around with it, man. I'll be all good, man. Just give me all the drinks.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be fun, man. So, and that's going to be at 1350.
Yeah. So that'll be at 1350. Yep.
Okay. All right. And then, so next night, what you got going on?
Yeah. So Friday night, which will be the 18th. That's a pretty simple event. We just got whiskey and cigars. And so we'll do, so that is at Axe in the Oak. So that'll be the first one that we tried. So with those guys, so the whiskey that is included in your ticket, it's a flight. So it'll be a Lafroig finished moonshine.
Okay.
And then
Smoky.
it'll be, I think, a Tawny Port finished.
Okay.
And then I should have this like in front of me for somewhat.
That's all right, man.
And then I'm like totally blanking on that.
But now, are you a cigar guy? I mean, are you yourself? Do you smoke cigars?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. I do it occasionally. So, but I'm not one of the guys that like every night or like even 2 or 3 times a week. I'm not going to do it. I may smoke a cigar once a month, and yes, I will drink a bourbon with it.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
But I know there's a lot of folks out there, man. That's the big thing, right? Smoke a cigar, drink your whiskey.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of funny, like you say that, because like I drink whiskey, but it seems to be like more at events and like when I'm doing stuff like this than just like on my own. Like nowadays, which is kind of funny. But I definitely enjoy it with a cigar for sure.
Nice. And I shouldn't say guys. I should say guys and women, because women obviously have become a large market in the bourbon drinking field, but they're also cigar smokers. So I didn't mean to exclude the women out there who are listening. So yeah.
And then still working on that third whiskey. And then the Trinity Cigar Company is gonna be his name's Scott. So on that Friday night, he's doing his blend, which is like a Nicaraguan cigar, which are like those are that's kind of what I aim more towards for taste of a cigar. That third one is a cask strength. So it's probably just this the one that we tried, but at cask strength. Yeah. So
gotcha.
All super good. But yeah, so you get the three whiskeys and then your cigar, and then we're gonna have some live music from Todd Holler, who he's actually one of my buddies. He's played SoCo Still Fest the last couple of years, and so I definitely wanted to get him back for another event for sure. But yeah, so that's Friday. I don't think I missed anything.
Nope. Saturday, you've got what's going on Saturday?
Yeah, so Saturday is I'm like super pumped for. So that will be our dinner pairing.
Okay.
So this will actually be at Distillery 291. And so the way their warehouse is kind of set up is like the distillery itself is in like one big room, and then they probably have a couple hundred barrels right there, and then like all the cool like lighting across the top of them. So it's a really cool spot. So we'll do kind of like a farmhouse table, like a big one, right. One big table, and everybody's kind of hanging out at it. And that is paired with Tossed. So Chef Morgan of Tossed. So she's actually a food truck. But her food it's like her food truck stuff and like meal prep is like kind of on the healthier side of just meals in general. So which like I was like the first time I like heard about her, I was just like, I don't know if I want like a lettuce wrap or something, with my whiskey, but you know, if she came highly recommended, which since then, like it's amazing. Like I didn't think like healthy food would actually taste as good as it does, but so if you need somebody to meal prep for you, I know somebody. But
nice.
So reading the menu, so that'll be Colorado small batch rye. So basically this just not at barrel proof or single barrel.
Not barrel proof, single barrel. Yeah.
And that's paired with pear goat cheese and walnut salad over arugula with a wine vinaigrette.
Okay.
And then course 2 will be Colorado small batch bourbon. So that's just like their entry level basic bourbon, if you want to I guess call it basic, but it's still obviously really good.
That's gateway bourbon.
Yeah. So that's paired with sourdough, flatbread, and grilled vegetables. Course 3, which is what I'm really excited for. This is like their October special release whiskey. So they call it Bad Guy 4-grain bourbon.
Okay.
Which I'll have to send you guys a sample of it because it's real good.
If you have to.
But it's or if you get them on here, then they'll send it to you.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's Colorado filet mignon with rubbed with a whiskey braised Colorado short rib jerky and served with a stout beer cheese sauce, Hasselback potatoes, and broccolini. So I saw that and I was like, yep.
Sounds awful.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
And then course 4. So it'll be Colorado barrel proof single barrel. So what we're drinking right now, ice cream sandwich with brown sugar chocolate chip, pecan, and dried cherry cookies. and a vanilla ice cream swirled with Deck Liqueur caramel sauce. So the Deck
I'm in. Yes.
the Deck Liqueur is 291's liqueur. So that's the only like non-whiskey thing that they make. But it's literally like you take a sip and it brings you to like a ski lodge in Vail, like in the middle of the woods. Like it's
Very
heaven.
nice.
So
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that. And that'll be a good time, for sure.
That's Saturday night.
Yep,
and,
that's
right.
Saturday
And
night,
it's Sunday is that's the 20th. And so that's the actual
so Sunday is
right?
the big end party where everybody's gonna come to celebrate Colorado whiskey in general. So we'll have about 20 distilleries.
Okay.
And that's everybody from Storm King, who's out in Montrose, which is basically Utah, as I like to tell David, he's the owner. And then we're gonna have Mythology, which is way up north in Steamboat, and Bear Creek in Denver, probably like 10-ish Denver distilleries, NoCo Distilling or Distilling Company, all the way up in Fort Collins. So
shout out to you, Sebastian Gallier.
Yeah,
I know
it was
you're
funny
out there.
because we actually went up there. We went to NoCo in March, and their Mo, she's like their marketing director. She was like, "Hey, are you still in town? You should stop by." And that, like, I went from thinking like, "Oh, we'll be there, like an hour, like we'll just taste like a couple of new things like here and there."
Yeah.
I think we got there at like 7:00 and we got back to our hotel at like 2 a.m. and I was not feeling good the next day. So shout out to Sebastian for sure.
Yes, nice.
It was one of the try this. And I was not going to say no.
Never. Right. Twist my arm.
But yeah, so for the festival, we have Trinity Cigar Company once again, which he actually has a 40-foot by 20-foot like tow behind trailer that folds out like into this huge cigar lounge. It's like one of the coolest things like I've ever seen.
Cool.
And I've done probably a dozen events with him, and like his knowledge of just like you could bring him anything that you're tasting and he'll pair it for you in probably a second. Like once you start talking, he'll just be like, "Yep, try this," and it's right on. So and then we have some more live music. Some one local guy named Brandon Henderson. He plays, it's kind of like classic rock, country ish. And then a newer-ish guy named Dylan Marshall. He's kind of like a Tyler Childers, however. I've debated with many people on how to say his last name, but it's kind of like that vibe. So and then
very cool, man.
Yeah, so then if you buy VIP, we're kind of doing like a whiskey church, like private tasting, and this is all at the Carter Payne. So this is where I do whiskey church. And so this will be all outside, really cool spots, some cool views, and then the Bourbon Life Mobile Lounge or mobile podcast studio.
Yeah, man. I was gonna say you've got a pretty cool presenting sponsor working with you this year, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. Yeah, man, thrilled to be a part of that, man. So it'll be fun to come out there. Unfortunately, Matty Boy is going to be in Kona, Hawaii, doing the Ironman World Championship.
Oh darn, you're going to be in Hawaii.
Yeah, he's going to be in Hawaii, man. So Matt's going to miss out on that spectacular. But Mrs. Bourbon Life and I will be out there for sure, man. With the podcast mobile studio, hanging out, having a good time, man. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I've never been to Colorado, so this is going to be. I mean, what more could you want?
You get to see all the aspen trees.
Yeah,
I get to see all the aspen trees. Exactly right. I can't wait. Bringing my camera. This is going to be great. Well, guys, we're almost at the end of the round here, so let's jump back to the whiskey real quick and talk about this Distillery 291, the barrel proof single barrel rye Aspen wood finish. Matt, what do you pick up in terms of the palate and finish on this, man?
To me, this tastes everything like a Manhattan.
Okay.
It has like a really like fruit syrup, macerated cherry note right up front. That's like nice and thick. I'm really surprised to pick that up from the rye. It must be like a lot of that malting in there on the rye, but there's a really thick macerated cherry, like cherry pie crust note right up front. Then it kind of lends into more of the like Manhattan cocktail with like the Luxardo cherry and like that cherry syrup that might be on it. There's a little bit of orange too. I pick up like a touch of citrus with it as well.
Yeah,
that's what I get for sure.
Yeah, like this like nice long sweet finish on it that's like really decadent. Like some of those red wine flavors, kind of those like stewed plums, like figs, really come through on the finish for me.
Yeah. This is going to be great with dessert. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Already looking forward to it.
Throw some liqueur on top of that. But
Yeah, for sure.
This would be really good with
I don't
dark
have much else
chocolate.
to add. Oh, what's that, Matt?
This would be really good with dark chocolate. I think it would pair
Dark
well.
chocolate, yeah. Yeah. I don't have any more tasty notes to add. I mean, I think you nailed it, Matt. No question about it. So, Matt, any other things palate-wise that you get on that?
No, I mean, listening to him, I just want to like close my eyes and just
Like
sip on
having
some
dessert,
whiskey
right?
and
Yeah.
let him
no
take
doubt.
it away for me, you know?
So Matt, people that are interested in coming out there for the festival, if they're local or even if they're not, they just want to come out. Where can they get more information and where can they get tickets?
Yeah. So, our social media is big on just finding out information in general. We're on Eventbrite.
Okay.
So all the events are on Eventbrite. If you search Colorado Spirits Collective, you can pull up, or obviously Colorado Springs Distillery Week. You can just find it on there. All of my events are through there too. And then if you're on Instagram or social media, then just the link tree that is in my bio. And yeah, it's all right there.
So let's talk about the future just a little bit before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
So this is really the first official Colorado Springs Distillery Weekend Festival. So what's the future look like? What do you got? I mean, you're an idea guy.
Yeah.
You can start jumping into things before you think it through. So
yeah. So, I mean, I have obviously tons of different ideas, and as we grow it, I think it'd be cool to be able to like move out into the street and bigger stage, have like some bigger Colorado musicians come, potentially more distilleries, more Colorado focused distilleries, but also like I cater to I do festival wise, I've always included like Wyoming, just because there's like 7 distilleries up there and they need some love too because they're doing some pretty cool stuff. Get some of them down, just kind of whoever wants to come and celebrate Colorado whiskey in general, and yeah, just make it bigger and
very cool. So this event, it is 21 plus, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah,
So like no kids.
Yeah,
Don't bring your kids out here and expect to
no,
hang
please,
out with everybody.
please don't. No, there's no bounce house or nothing like that.
Yeah. It's not a state fair.
Yeah.
You know, don't bring the kids and the dogs and everything and whatever. So
no, 21 for sure.
Awesome. Well, Matt, we've had a great time tonight, man. We really appreciate you joining us, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person here in just about 7 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, I think we're
close to it.
Yeah,
something
7
like
weeks,
that. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
I'm, like,
man. I'm really
excited at the same time, but at the same time, like, ooh, when you say something,
right?
Yeah, and Matt's that way about Kona, the World Championship. So yeah, you guys are both similar on that. Like, ooh,
Yeah, we're both
7
on
weeks.
thin ice.
you'll crush it.
Yeah,
So will
man.
you.
So any final thoughts, Matt, before we Colorado Matt? I'll call you Colorado Matt. Any final thoughts, man, before we wrap it up tonight?
No, I'm just excited, like you said, to meet you in person and be able to celebrate Colorado whiskey and being able to continue to spread the word. And yeah, it's an honor to be on Bourbon Life. I've been a huge fan since I started podcasting and stuff, and
Well, thanks, man. We definitely appreciate that for sure, man. Definitely. It's nice to finally get to meet you. Like I said, looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah.
Other Matt, Matty boy, any final thoughts
Co-host.
before we... Yeah, co-host Matt, former co-host Matt.
Yes.
Any final thoughts before we wrap it up, man?
Say my final goodbye forever.
Before you turn in your letter of resignation.
Exactly. Hey, Matt, thanks for taking the time, sitting down with us, our listeners, and talking everybody through what you've been doing there and sharing the love on Colorado whiskey. I can't wait for Mark to finally get west of the Mississippi and to have his mind changed a little bit about some of the other whiskeys that aren't Jim Beam and some of the big Kentucky boys here. There's a lot out there. And I think, Mark, once you finally see that an Aspen tree actually exists, hopefully your mind will be changed.
Oh man, I have no doubt.
We're taking a picture of you hugging an Aspen tree.
Yeah, please do.
I'll kiss it. I'll hug it and give it a kiss, man. No doubt about it. So, well, Matt, thanks so much for joining us, man. We really enjoyed it. We had a great time hanging out with you tonight. And
thanks for having
me. Looking
me.
forward to this, man. Good luck over the next 7 weeks, 6 weeks. Boy, you get final preparations in place, man. And looking forward to heading out there and spending some time with you and get to hang out and have some fun, drink some good whiskey and great whiskey and eat some great food and just have a good time in general, man. It'll be a lot of fun. That's what I love about whiskey. You know, brings people together. You get to have a good time, man. And it's just, and all ages, even old guys, you know, even AARP members, we still like to have a good time every once in a while, man. So
for sure.
Well, Matt, thanks so much. Appreciate it. I'm going to wrap it up here. We are the Bourbon Life Podcast, of course, presented by Liquor Barn. Again, appreciate their support and the support of all of our sponsors. We appreciate you guys, our listeners. Like Matt always says, whatever time of day it is, morning, noon, or night, whenever it is you get your Bourbon Life fix, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. Again, we do this show to bring you all the information of great guests like Matt and share their story with you. So we appreciate you tuning in and listening to it. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also join our private Facebook group, The Bourbon Lifers. We'd love to have you in there. If you want to send us an email, you can do that at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. Don't forget our good buddy, Mike, Big Chief, or as Matt likes to call him, Big Tex, doing the Whiskey Trip podcast under our umbrella. That show comes out every Tuesday, so don't forget to check that out. I give him a like and a follow as well on Facebook and Instagram. And with that said, I'm going to wrap it up. Send us home with our tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full, and may you keep on living the bourbon life.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the bourbon life.
Welcome to the kitchen table at James B. Beam Distilling Company, where every visit is a celebration of tradition and flavor. Did you know that the kitchen table is nestled right within the heart of the distillery? That's right. You can experience the essence of James B. Beam's legacy while savoring their delectable dishes. Join them every Wednesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. for a culinary journey like no other. Planning a special event? Let the kitchen table be your host, creating unforgettable memories for you and your guests. And don't miss their exclusive Behind the Beam tour and monthly Claremont Supper Club events, which will feature a top-secret release at the September event. For more information and reservations, visit beamdistilling.com. The kitchen table at James B. Beam Distilling Company. Come as a friend, leave as family.